Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. It is Sunday, which means it is time for the weekly recap. So here are all the top stories throughout the week of November 10th, 2025, all conveniently located in one location. We hope you enjoy the show. And remember, the Constitution matters.
All right, lawyer.
Let me also remind you, go and subscribe to crimetalksearch.com for a background subscription service today. I'm telling you, there is somebody that you want to know something about. Somebody coming into your life, maybe somebody you work with, maybe somebody coming into your children's life. Go check them out and get that report. It's literally prepared and emailed to you while you wait. You're going to get a report that's going to have all types of information, phone numbers, email addresses, social media presence, criminal history, liens, judgments, married, divorced, sex offender, all those things you wanted to find out about somebody before they come into your life, or maybe you're deciding to get them out of your life. But go to crimetalksearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. Now, let me remind you, we got merch. Lawyer. There you go. Great t-shirt. How about this one? You know, the Constitution matters, does it not? Yes, it does. It does. Next on the docket, probably one of the worst things we've heard about. Try to notice a trend of today's videos, today's stories, I guess. Let's here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This woman is a predator. All right. That's the only way to do it. The 31-year-old San Marcos woman has been condemned to 100 years to life in prison for systematically targeting and sexually abusing young children with special needs, including those with autism, who she lured under the guise of compassionate caregiver. Now, the San Diego District Attorney, Summer Stephan, underscores the depths of the depravity of the defendant's actions and the urgent imperative to shield the most defenseless members of society. As a poignant observation holds, a society is judged on how we protect our children, a standard that demands unyielding vigilance against such monstrous betrayals. So here's Brittany Lyon, the convicted predator. She admitted back in May to a litany of grave offenses encompassing multiple instances of lewd acts upon minors, forcible sexual misconduct, kidnapping, residential burglary, and assaults on several victims. Her crimes, meticulously planned and executed with chilling premeditation, preyed upon at least 4 preschools and an elementary-aged girl, 2 as young as 3 years old and 2 aged 7. Among them, children grappling with autism, one of whom was entirely nonverbal, rendered their silent suffering all the more harrowing. Prosecutors detailed how Lyon deliberately positioned herself as a reliable babysitter, advertising her services online with an emphasis on accommodation of children with disabilities to integrate herself into the trusting families. The calculated facade enabled her to orchestrate access for her accomplice, Samuel Cabrera, who was convicted back in 2019 and now faces 8 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Together, they inflicted unimaginable torment. Lyon transported the drugged and defenseless children to Cabrera's residence or facilitated his entry during her caregiving shifts, either in her home or the victim's own. The pair's depravity extended to recording the assaults, amassing hundreds of explicit videos that captured the raw brutality of their violations, evidence seized from digital storage devices following a high-speed pursuit. Now, this nightmare unraveled back in 2016 when a 7-year-old survivor, summoning unimaginable courage, confided in her mother about her dread of being left alone with Lyon. This revelation ignited a comprehensive investigation, which unearthed not only the abuse footage, but also a trove of covert recordings Lyon had surreptitiously captured in public spaces such as dressing rooms, restrooms, and locker facilities across North County. Now, police have appealed to the community for assistance in identifying any additional survivors from these illicit surveillance efforts. Said the district attorney characterized the sentence as a necessary closure to a despicable chapter that has destroyed innocents and devastated families, emphasizing Lyon's ruthless exploitation of her victims' impairments. The defendant showed no mercy. The DA stated, ruthlessly recruiting autistic children under false pretenses only to subject them to the most atrocious violations imaginable. Yet, even as justice appears served, a troubling shadow lingers under California's elderly parole provisions, which could permit Lyons to seek early release after just 28 years at the age of 50. This potential leniency has ignited some bipartisan outrage and some legislative action. Apparently, some legislators are trying to get together in California and seek to bar violent sex offenders from such exemptions, ensuring lifelong incarceration for crimes of this magnitude. Although it really doesn't matter as it relates to this particular case because you can't do ex post facto and make it retroactive. So it would be going forward, but we'll see what they can do. Anyway, horrific story. Remember, why do you want to be near my children? What are your motives? So the LAPD rules out homicide in the teen's death, for the guy that found the dismembered body, decomposing body in the singer David's car. Wait till you hear this. So police in Los Angeles have determined that no homicide occurred in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were discovered in a highly decomposed state inside a vehicle linked to the rising musician David, spelled with a 4. Now, the announcement, which limits potential legal consequences to misdemeanor charges for improper handling of human remains, has drawn a little bit of criticism from the private investigator involved in the case. Now, on September 8th of 2025, one day after what would have been Rivas Hernandez's 15th birthday, employees at a Hollywood impound facility alerted the Los Angeles Police Department to what they believed to be a foul odor emanating from the black Tesla Model S. The vehicle was registered to David Anthony Burke, professionally known as the 20-year-old singer, David, spelled with a 4. Anyway, that car had been towed 3 days earlier from a street near a high-end Hollywood Hills property leased by the artist's manager. Now, inside the trunk, wrapped in plastic, investigators found the teen's body, which showed signs of advanced decomposition. And the LAPD's investigation, detailed in a September 29th press release, concluded that the precise cause of death could not be established due to the body's condition. It remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of the body, the statement read. And under California law, concealing human remains constitutes a mere misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. Now, as of this reporting, no individuals have been charged, and the department has refrained from identifying any people of interest. The case obviously gained some national attention due to evidence suggesting a romantic involvement between Rivas Hernandez and Mr. David. And according to her mother, the teen left the family home in Lake Eleanor in 2024 at age 13, reportedly to pursue a relationship with someone named David. Public records and social media archives indicate the pair shared a distinctive tattoo, and numerous photographs and videos circulated online and verified through fan discussions depict them together at events, parties, and performances. Well, David's followers have speculated about a girlfriend named Celeste in chat rooms months prior, and the artist released an unreleased song titled Celeste. Location data from various images places David near the family residence in the period leading up to her disappearance. And now David was touring internationally when coincidentally the body was found and promptly canceled the remaining dates. His representatives confirmed that he has been cooperating with law enforcement at the time, though he has made no public statements since. Now, the singer has retained attorney Blair Burke, known for representing high-profile clients in complex legal matters. Complicating the narrative, LAPD officers executed a search warrant on the $20,000 per month Hollywood Hills mansion rented by David's manager, And security footage reviewed by investigators show the Tesla was last parked in front of the property on July 29th, 2025, before being relocated a short distance away following the neighbor's complaint on August 29th. It remained there until it was towed on September 5th. Now, the Stephen Fisher guy, a private investigator retained by the property manager to examine the residence, has alleged the discovery of several implements described as agricultural tools capable of dismembering a body. In a 3-week probe, Fisher claimed these items were inconsistent with the home's typical use and suggested the vehicle may have, contained the remains as early as late July. Fisher has publicly urged prosecutors to pursue felony charges related to sexual misconduct with a minor, arguing that the alleged relationship predated Hernandez's death and warrants immediate action. And in a post on social media X, he wrote, "If the LAPD and the district attorney's office fail to charge the sex crimes against a minor in this case, it will be a true slap in the face to Celeste. She wasn't protected from the people like David while she was alive, and we at least owe her that in her death." He added, "It's time to move forward with charges. Additional charges can always be added later. Make an arrest." Well, the LAPD has not responded to recent inquiries beyond referencing its prior release, and neither David's legal team nor the district attorney's office has commented on potential charges. Rivas Hernandez's family held a memorial service in Lake Eleanor last month, where loved ones expressed ongoing grief and the desire for accountability. Now, as the investigation enters its 3rd month, the focus remains on forensic analysis and witness statements. Advocates for child protections have highlighted the case as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by minors in relationship with adults. Updates, we'll bring them to you as they emerge. Now, this gives you a perfect example. What do I say all the time? Doesn't matter what you think, it only matters what you can prove. All right? These two were probably involved in a relationship, right? Hernandez and David. However, guess what? You would need her, unless you have some photographic evidence, to come to court and say, that's the person that I was in a relationship with, and this is my age, and this is his age, and there you go. Well, she's not coming to court, so charges aren't going to be filed in that regard. Now, obviously, the police have not been able to determine the cause of death, but somebody certainly, maybe it was an overdose, natural causes, who knows? But the coroner was unable to determine a cause and manner of death, just that the person was dismembered in this dude's car. So, I don't know. If I was advising David, I would tell him to keep his mouth shut. Who knows exactly what happened? Maybe it was a tough night of partying. Like I said, could have been natural causes. Somebody freaks out. They panic. They stuff her in the trunk of the car. And to get her to fit, they got to chop a few limbs off. That is, I guess that's the worst case scenario. Basically, abuse of a corpse charges, we refer to it here in Colorado. A misdemeanor sure is a lot better than murder charges, to say the least. So this David guy, but it proves a good point. It proves a good point. This is why any defense attorney worth their salt is going to tell you to keep your mouth shut. He said nothing. He gave them nothing in which to say he did it. Case will probably go unsolved, or it'll be determined as undetermined as it relates to cause and manner of death. And there you go. Lesson learned, keep your mouth shut. And like I said, it doesn't matter what you think, only matters what you can prove. Now, certainly a lot of coincidences going on there, but what can you do? The mother of the missing California girl charged with false imprisonment. That's right. Police have arrested Ashlee Buzzard, as we told you the other day, the mother of the 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, who has been missing since early October on charges of false imprisonment. No murder charges just yet. Kind of like the story we brought you about the guy named David yesterday, too. But remember, everyone is presumed innocent that we talk about unless proven guilty in a court of law. Now, according to the court records, the incident stems from Buzzard's apparent remorse after confiding a longtime acquaintance about the location of where she reportedly abandoned her daughter. Now, Ms. Buzzard, who's 40 years old, was taken into custody in California last Friday. Police initially described the charges as unrelated to the ongoing search for Melodee. However, the accuser, Tyler Brewer, has since provided a detailed account asserting that the confrontation arose during his attempt to assist in locating the child last month at Buzzard's residence in Lompoc. Now, in an interview with News Nation's Banfield, Brewer recounted that Buzzard disclosed the site in Utah, approximately several hundred miles from their home, along with the identity of the individual accompanying Melodee. Brewer noted in the criminal complaint filed on Monday and reviewed by the Los Angeles Times that Buzzard exhibited signs of acute distress immediately following the revelation. Buzzard became visibly distressed after sharing information she appeared to regret disclosing, according to the arrest affidavit. Now, Brewer further alleged that she then brandished a box cutter, denying his repeated request to depart the premises despite his familiarity with her since 2014. Brewer described Buzzard as closing her eyes tightly, clenching her fists, and securing multiple locks on the door to prevent his exit. What was she going to do? Kill him too? Take him on a road trip and dump him in the middle of the desert? Possibly. Anyway, the court records characterize the episode as indicative of premeditation and deliberate intent. Brewer ultimately escaped and promptly notified police. He emphasized uncertainty regarding the veracity of Buzzard's statements, attributing potential inaccuracies to her evident psychological turmoil. Family members, including Buzzard's mother, Lori Miranda, have corroborated concerns about her mental health. Miranda informed local media that she has not seen her granddaughter in over 2 years and that Ashlee's conditions deteriorated significantly in 2018 following a fatal automobile accident that claimed Melodee's father's life when the child was merely 6 months old. So Melodee's most recent verified appearance occurred on October 9th near the Utah-Colorado border, as reported by the police. She was officially reported missing on October 14th after educators alerted authorities that she had not participated in her homeschooling program for more than a year. Security footage captured Buzzard and Melodee embarking on an unexplained journey to Nebraska on October 7th, with Buzzard returning unaccompanied on October 10th. Investigators from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office observed that Buzzard altered the license plates on her rented vehicle and donned disguises such as wigs during the approximate 1,500-mile excursion, obviously suggestive of efforts to evade scrutiny. Since the inquiry commenced, Buzzard has remained uncooperative, offering no substantive details on Melodee's whereabouts or well-being. The case now involves federal agencies, obviously making things much more serious, and given the fact that the child was reportedly moved across state lines, would make sense. Now, efforts to reach Ms. Buzzard's attorney, well, unsuccessful. What can you do? But we do know that security recordings provided the final documented visuals of Melodee prior to her disappearance, obviously intensifying the urgency of the investigation. You know what people say, ladies and gentlemen, 2 people can keep a secret as long as one is dead. And it appeared as though I was thinking about unaliving her longtime friend once she knew that she had possibly messed up. Obviously, we'll give her the presumption of innocence, and even the own victim in this particular case of the false imprisonment can't say for certain whether it's true or not, but just repeating what she said. But I think that's what they refer to as a statement against penal interest. People don't go around confessing to killing their children unless there's some veracity to it. Next on the docket, a judge frees the mother that we talked about yesterday that confessed. In an astonishing development that has left several people quite upset, a California judge has ordered the immediate release of a mother entangled in the baffling disappearance of her young daughter, despite prosecutors' vehement objections over the startling array of the evidence. The ruling, handed down just yesterday, marks a dramatic pivot in the case already shrouded in enigma and heartache. So Ashlee Buzzard, the mom, who's 40, and the beleaguered parent to 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, walked out of the Santa Barbara County Northern Branch Jail in Santa Maria under strict conditions, freed from the $100,000 bail that had confined her since her arrest last Friday. The charge? A felony count of false imprisonment stemming from tense encounters, utterly divorced from her child's vanishing act. Yet, as details emerged in the courtroom, the surprise deepened. How could such leniency prevail against the backdrop of a red flags and, raw family anguish? Well, the incident unfolded on November 6 at Buzzard's residence on Mars Avenue in Vandenberg Village, where she allegedly barred a visitor from departing. That visitor was Tyler S. Brewer, a local paralegal with a past acquaintance to Buzzard, who reached out in a bid to aid the frantic search for Melodee. Brewer recounted to reporters a harrowing scene. Invited to discuss leads on the missing girl, he found himself trapped, unable to exit the house. Police swooped in the very next day, cuffing Buzzard and ushering her into custody. This arrest arrived like a thunderclap nearly a month after Melodee's last confirmed sighting. There was grainy surveillance footage capturing the child near the Colorado-Utah state line during a sprawling 3-day odyssey with her mother that veered as far east as Nebraska. Now, reported absence from school on October 14th by a vigilant administrator, Melodee has not been glimpsed since, and the investigation concluded she never made it back to their Vandenberg Village home. The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, bolstered by the FBI, continues its relentless probe, serving no fewer than 3 search warrants at the Buzzard residence to unearth any clues whatsoever. Well, Wednesday's hearing brimmed with jaw-dropping revelations. Buzzard's defense counsel passionately contended that his client posed no danger of fleeing and that the alleged offense lacked any violent edge, especially given her spotless prior record. But the prosecution fired back with chilling specifics. A box cutter allegedly wielded during the standoff, coupled with discoveries from the fateful road trip, including disguises like wigs and tampered vehicle plates that seem to show evasion. This isn't just a misunderstanding, the prosecutor urged, painting a portrait of calculated deception. Buzzard, entering the courtroom in a simple sweater with hands demurely folded, entered a firm not guilty plea, her sole utterance. A barely audible good morning to the presiding judge, delivered with a hesitance that hung heavy in the air. The bench, in a verdict that stunned the gallery, mandated her release under supervised oversight. No contact with Mr. Brewer, a blanket ban on all weapons, and the unwavering compliance with police. Now, the decision ignited fury among Melodee's paternal relatives in attendance. Grandmother Lily Denz, her voice crackling with disbelief, described the outcome as betrayal, confessing she scarcely recognizes the woman before her anymore. How can this be? She lamented, echoing the raw shock rippling through the divided family. Now, as Buzzard prepares for the next appearance on November 19th, the specter of Melodee's fate looms larger than ever, indeed. So what secret lurks in the shadow of the cross-country journey? And in freeing a mother under such clouds, has justice tilted towards mercy or peril? For now, the search presses on, a poignant reminder that some mysteries defy even the most unforeseen turns. Unbelievable to me that the judge, I understand you got to go with the bond scale, but somebody has basically held somebody captive, a kidnapping with a box cutter. How is that not a violent act? And to let this woman out, you would have thought, I get it. She hasn't been charged with murder. She's given the presumption of innocence. In the eyes of the law, as of right now, she's done nothing wrong. She hasn't been charged. But really, it seems like things are possibly escalating from potentially missing child, the least to complete delinquency of the child, so to speak, and then kidnapping somebody, and then apparently telling them that you've disposed of the body somewhere near the Colorado-Utah border. Yeah, seems crazy to me. Next on the docket, Brian Kohberger's got to pay. In a recent ruling, the Idaho District Court judge has ruled that Brian Kohberger, convicted in the 2022 stabbing deaths of the 4 University of Idaho students, to provide financial compensation exceeding $3,000 to the relatives of 2 victims. This decision persists despite objections from Kohberger's legal team, who contended that this ongoing incarceration under life sentences precludes any capacity for income generation. Now, the Judge Stephen Hippler, formalized 2 separate restitution orders. The first requires a payment of $1,420 to Steve and Christy Gonzalez, the parents of Kaylee, while the second stipulates $1,587 to Karen Laramie, the mother of Madison Mogan, and these amounts are designated exclusively to reimburse costs associated with urns acquired for the preservation of their daughter's remains following the tragic events. Now, Kohberger's defense had petitioned the court to waive these obligations, emphasizing his financial constraints amid a lifetime of imprisonment, just simply isn't possible. However, Judge Hippler dismissed that argument, citing documented contributions totaling, wait for it, $28,360.96 that Kohberger has already amassed through public donations during his time in custody. Furthermore, the judge highlighted prospective opportunities for payment via institutional labor initiatives within the correctional system. That's right. They could make license plates. They could do sewing. Who knows what is coming for Brian Kohberger, but I'm sure it's going to be lucrative. Now, in evaluating Kohberger's circumstances, the court considered factors such as his relative young age, the nominal expenditures required for subsistence in a prison sentence, and the potential for continued donor support or earned wages. These elements, the ruling concluded, render the fulfillment of restitution obligations realistically attainable across an extended time frame. The mandate stems from the provisions in Kohberger's September 2025 plea agreement, which explicitly authorized the prosecution to pursue reimbursement of funeral-related expenses and costs under Idaho's crime victim compensation program. The contractual clause effectively circumvented the standard judicial scrutiny of a defendant's fiscal viability, as outlined in the judge's formal order. Now, court records do indicate that Kohberger now faces some cumulative debt exceeding some $300,000, encompassing a range of penalties and liabilities. These comprise of criminal penalties and administrative charges of $251,000, a civil award to each affected family of $20,000, prior to restitution directives to the Crime Victim Compensation Fund of $31,964, and current restitution in the amount of $3,007.79. Now, during the prosecution, the prosecutors initially advocated coverage of family travel and lodging expenses associated with courtroom appearances, but subsequently relinquished this claim upon review of the plea agreement terms, which the court affirms did not extend to such ancillary costs. I knew that wasn't going to happen. But the funeral costs, yeah, you get that. Travel expenses, nope, not coming in. Anyway, so both restitution orders accrue at interest at the annual rate of 9.125% and must be remitted through the county court clerk there in Ada County. Obviously, Kohberger pled guilty, got his multiple life sentences, and, is never eligible for parole. Obviously, the judge's commitment to facilitating partial redress for the survivors in this case matters. Even a broader financial burden on the perpetrator's amount. Not like he's going to pay that much, but hey, if people were silly enough to send him $28,000 to have on his books, seems like it's only fair that he should have to pay some of that, if not a good chunk of it, to paying the court costs and victims' comp.